Something that was ever
Looked up to?
compared with the general population of the
As
public
far as I
schools?
know, Charlie, this is the first time that any of us have taken a systemic look back. My intuition tells me that we probably will have about the same rates of
In other words, how many college
numbers
graduates, how
as
many
any other
people?
school.
Same percentages. It was
Although there
small
are-
we only had 100 students.
There are other studies that have preceded ours. There's a famous, called the 8-year study. This now, if we really did this is more than 8 years. But there's a famous 8-year study that was done of progressive schools back in the 30s. And when they concluded after their study, comparing with conventional schools, they found that the success in life across the board in all areas was far superior for students who had been in the progressive schools of the 30s, the John Dewey, of which we are a spin-off, than the others.
Well, the morale of the people are much higher. So I mean, I don't think this study would be accurate in these days and times where morality is falling off. And even the goals of people and focus is different now. A teenager sitting in this school right now is really struggling. They're saying, be all that you can be, but to become a lawyer is too much work. You'll never get there. The only thing modeled to them is that you can be successful, but it takes too much work. I mean, they're really struggling, and that's my concern. Is that I would have, I would like to say, because I know it's being recorded, because I know people are going to look at this, and I would like them not to only address well, how do I feel, and that I have a good life, or I don't have a good life, or I would like them to address, to see that if in a study, what are we doing with our kids?
How does it stack up?
Yeah, how does it stack up? Because in 1974 and 1975, I was experimented with. I mean, I have to be honest about that.
Well, in 12th grade, to put it in perspective, a lot of people who went to 12th grade when I did and went to the regular high school spent more time cutting out of class than anything else. So 12th grade becomes sort of a wasted year for a lot of people. So I didn't feel... No, I know, but a lot.
A lot of people, by the time you're a senior, you only need 2 or 3
Yeah, so you wind up, you
graduate.
spend half of your time at the beach anyway.
The whole
So if you
reason
spent
why-
8 hours at Maslow-Toffler and got anything at all out of it, you did better than your 12th grade.
That was the argument given to me, and I would have to say some, not a lot.
Not a lot, but some. But
Some.
enough.
But you had
To
to
make
have
it-
a certain amount of credits to be able to be in the Maslow-Toffler
Right.
school.
Yeah.
I needed 1. But I'm just saying that maybe in a more structured environment, there could have been more preparation for college, and college is not, well, this laissez-faire type of you have
Can I ask you a
correct
question? Have you been to college?
Yes.
Okay, because the experience that I've had is that the courses, the classes that I took at Maslow prepared me for college, because I took many courses, maybe in the focus in the direction that I was going in, that prepared me
And
to
if she
sit
slacked
in this
off or
type
took
of
advantage
situation.
took advantage of the lax atmosphere in college, she just would only have hurt herself. And that's what Maslow taught us.
I'd also like to say that when I was going to high school, I went 2 years at a parochial school and 2 years at a public school. And what I learned there didn't hold up at all. And look where I landed, because when I went to college and all of a sudden I had this immense freedom, I didn't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah, I think Maslow-Toffler more closely resembles what you get in college anyway, because you set your own schedule, you set your own classes, and if you don't go, you're the one that's going to pay the price for it. In high school, you either be there or you get an F. That's the
Oh,
bottom
you're
line.
paying the price.
But in college, you have a more open environment to speak in. It's a lot more of an open classroom. The teacher is up there and more of a on the same level as the student, rather than talking down to the student like you get in high school often.
Jimmy,
I think it's more open environment.
I just want to jump in for a minute to say that I don't think that there's a person sitting here tonight that in the last 20 years hasn't fallen on their face in some way. It's in 74.
19, isn't it?
All right. In the last 20 years, any of us who have been, no one that long, I don't think that there's a person sitting here that can't say, I never had to pick myself up off the floor. I never was in the pits. I never failed, quote unquote, at something. And I think, that somebody, I read recently that another word for failure is education. I think that we learn from the things that we screw up with. And a lot of times, the younger the child, even at high school age, many kids come to school, have not yet, even though they've been with parents for all of their lives, they've not yet internalized a value system. And we experiment with our own kids, and you're quite right. We are experimenting with one another right now. Make no mistake about it. When we talk, we're bulls in china shops, and you have to be damn careful because you can destroy a soul. We had a long talk about the pain that Stephen has. She shared a lot of his pain over the last 20 years, and a lot of his growth over the last 20 years, and his present directions. I could say the same thing for myself, that the last 20 years have been a period of extreme growth, and many of those years very painful. But when is the right time to have a breakdown? When is the right time to crash? When is the right time to discover that, by God, everything that I thought was real up to this moment isn't real? There ain't no right time. It's now. Everything happens now. And whenever now happens, if it was in 1974, terrific. If that's when you crashed, that was the time to crash. If it's going to be tomorrow for somebody, God forbid, better late than never. Thank you for everybody coming tonight. Better late than never. We're here. That's what's important. We have now. So I think we can probably all talk about the pain that we've experienced and the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and all the things that maybe if we had been able to do things differently, we would have avoided some of that pain. But that pain, if you embrace it, it's a marvelous teacher. But rather than avoiding it and trying to run away from it, embrace the pain. Love the pain, because it's giving you an enormous gift if you will only open up to it. Gift about yourself and about life and about other things. And I think the fact that we can come back after 20 years, sit down and be as honest with one another as we're being is testimony to some of the great stuff that happened. It's still there. Even some of the phrases that I've heard people using, ringing bells that are familiar to me. And then I go across the hall to go to the boys' room to comb my hair. And 20 years after MT, there's no mirrors yet. In the boys' room. No self-image there.
John, if I may, I live in Connecticut, and when I first moved there 7 years ago, of course I wanted to go back into the school system. I just left the school system. I worked in Tori's school. She went to a Lutheran school from 7th grade until 10th grade. 10th grade, I said, oh my God, she's going to college. I better put her in a real school. It's time, so she'll learn how to function. But it didn't do her any good. But when I moved to Connecticut, I went searching for an alternative school. 7 years later, alternative school still means the same as it did when I first got there. They put them in the basement, and they're all the rejects. You guys were very fortunate. Yes, it might have been experimental, but you were the first. You had the opportunity to take it further, because now 20 years down the line, I don't see any graduates starting an alternative school, and that's unfortunate, but a true alternative school, not one just for failures, because they don't fit into the public school
Well, maybe there
system.
should be 5 alternative schools rather than just one.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Right.
I want to say, basically, I think Maslow was designed for me. I was a kind of like I just got by in school. Actually, I was very rebellious, and before Maslow, I really wasn't going anywhere. Maslow kind of, one, stopped the drugs for me. My drug problem was before Maslow. I kind of just got by. I look back at school, and it was a waste for me, because I just basically got by. I read my first book, front to back, at Maslow. In the beginning, I guess a little bit I took advantage of the system, because I was used to that. But then it was so unbelievably good that I didn't want to take advantage of it. I had a relationship with 3 of the best guys that to this day I mean, for 20 years, I kept in touch with 3 unbelievable people.
Well, come on, say their name.
Charlie Rizzo, Jimmy Gallagher, and Brian Gifford. And, you know, Jimmy called me a few months ago, and he told me he spoke to John. And basically, he asked me, for 20 years later, he asked me, what did you think of Maslow? And it kind of like blew me away when he asked me that. And basically, you know, I told him exactly what I'm telling everybody here. I think I was probably one of the students that definitely belonged there. I think it kind of really told me that, hey, you have a whole life and your education is just starting. So, that's it. So,
I have to agree with you.
yeah.